Once upon a time, in a quiet little village surrounded by mountains and misty hills, there lived a young man named Marco. He was just 24 years old, but his heart already carried the weight of a lifetime. Marco was restless, not because of his body, but because of his mind. From the moment he woke up to the time he tried to sleep, his head was never still. Thoughts came like waves, crashing over and over without pause. Some of these thoughts dragged him back into the sadness of his past. Others pulled him forward into the uncertainties of the future. It was as if his mind had become a storm, loud, relentless, and impossible to control. Because of this constant noise inside him, Marco could not rest. He couldn't laugh freely. He couldn't sleep deeply. Sometimes he even forgot how it felt to smile. One evening, while sitting on the steps of his small home and staring at the mountains, Marco overheard travelers speaking. They talked about a faraway village tucked into the hills, a place where silence and wisdom lived side by side. The story went that in that village there was an old man, once a famous psychologist in the city. In his younger years, he had guided countless people, teaching them how to find peace inside themselves. But when age crept upon him, the man left the chaos of the city behind. He chose a quieter life, close to nature, where he sometimes welcomed visitors who came searching for peace. Marco's heart stirred when he heard this. For the first time in months, he felt a spark of hope. If this wise man has shown others the way, Marco thought, maybe he can help me too. Maybe he can teach me how to calm my storm. The decision was made. Marco packed what little he needed and set out on the long road toward the village in the hills. The journey was not easy. He walked through hot sun and cold nights, through dusty paths and uneven roads. His body grew tired, but his mind, still spinning with restless thoughts, was far more exhausting than the travel itself. Finally, after many days, Marco reached the hillside village. What he saw looked nothing like the stories of the bustling city where the old man once lived. Instead, this place was covered in greenery. Small houses with tiled roofs sat quietly among trees, and the air carried the scent of pine and earth. At the edge of the village, Marco found a house half hidden by climbing vines and flowers. On the porch sat an elderly man. His eyes were closed, his breathing slow, and on his face was the peace so deep that Marco felt it before the old man even spoke. Gathering courage, Marco stepped closer and whispered, "Grandfather, my mind is troubled. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?" The old man slowly opened his eyes. They were calm and clear, like still water. A gentle smile spread across his face. "So," he said softly, "you are searching for peace. Come with me." He stood and led Marco into his small yard. There, he picked up a glass and filled it with water. He poured carefully until the glass brimmed with water, so full that the tiniest movement could make it spill. Then he handed the glass to Marco. "Take this," the old man said. "Walk from here to the far edge of the village and return. But listen carefully. Do not spill even a single drop of water." Marco's eyes widened. The request seemed simple, yet something about it felt serious. He nodded. "I will try." Holding the glass with both hands, Marco began his walk. The road ahead was narrow and alive with movement. Villages passed by, children laughed and chased one another, shopkeepers shouted out prices, and dogs barked from doorways. Yet Marco could not look at any of it. His eyes stayed locked on the water in the glass. Step by step, He moved slowly, breathing carefully, his focus sharp as a blade. The glass trembled slightly with every step, but Marco tightened his grip, steadying it. People glanced at him curiously, whispering among themselves, but no one interrupted him. They knew this was no ordinary task. Minutes passed, but Marco's focus never broke. At last, he reached the far edge of the village, turned, and made his way back to the house. When he finally placed the glass down in front of the old man, his face lit up with pride. "Grandfather," he said, almost breathless, "I did it. Not one drop spilled." The old man smiled, his eyes filled with kindness. "Good," he said. Then he leaned forward slightly and asked, "But tell me, Marco, on your way, did you see the children playing? Did you hear the dogs barking? Did you notice the shopkeepers calling out?" Marco blinked, confused. "No, I didn't notice any of that. I only looked at the glass. I only thought about the water." The old man nodded knowingly. His smile deepened, as if he had been waiting for this answer. "And that," he said gently, "is the secret you've been searching for. The truth was always inside you, though you didn't realize it. When your mind stays with the present moment, there is no space left for fear, for sadness, or for the endless noise of unnecessary thoughts. As you walked with the water, your mind was completely quiet. You weren't trapped in your past. You weren't worried about the future. You were here, only here. And in that moment, you found peace." Marco stood silently, the weight of the words sinking into him. He finally began to understand. Peace wasn't something distant, hidden in another place or another person. It was already within him. He simply needed to bring his mind back to the present again and again until he could live with that same stillness he had just experienced. He bowed his head. "Grandfather, now I see. If I want to calm my storm, I must stay with this moment. That is where peace begins." The old man smiled once more. Behind him, the sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the ground. Birds circled above, returning to their nests. The evening air felt gentle, as if the entire world was whispering agreement. Marco turned to leave, but he was no longer the restless young man who had arrived. Something had shifted inside him. He carried the same body, the same memories, the same road ahead, but his heart was lighter. His steps felt steadier. And for the first time in a long time, he knew how to quiet his mind. As he walked home through the fading light, a small smile touched his lips. The storm inside him had finally learned to rest. The next morning, Marco woke up in the village. The air was fresh, filled with the sound of birds echoing from the hills. For the first time in years, he felt rested. He hadn't slept like that since he was a child. It wasn't because the bed was softer or the air cooler, but because his mind had stopped fighting itself. Yet, as he sat up and stretched, Marco realized something important. The peace he had felt the night before was already slipping away. His old thoughts were creeping back in, the worries, the memories, the endless cycle of what-ifs and why me. So he hurried back to the old man's house. The elder was once again sitting on his porch, eyes closed, his presence as calm as flowing water. Marco bowed respectfully. "Grandfather," he said, "I understood what you showed me yesterday. When I focused on the glass of water, I was free from all my thoughts. But now that I'm not carrying the glass, my mind has gone back to its old ways. How do I hold on to peace when I am not in your yard? How do I keep it when I return home?" The old man opened his eyes slowly, as if wakened from a dream. His voice was soft, but it carried weight. Peace is like a seed, Marco. Yesterday you planted it, but a seed needs care. It needs water, sunlight, and attention to grow. If you walk away and forget it, it will wither. But if you nurture it every day, it will become a tree that no storm can shake. Marco leaned forward. But how do I nurture it? What should I do? The old man stood and motioned for Marco to follow. They walked a short distance to the river that cut through the village. The water shimmered in the morning light, flowing steadily over smooth stones. "Sit here," the old man said. "Close your eyes. Listen." Marco did as he was told. At first, his mind jumped restlessly. He thought about the villagers, about his long journey, about the future waiting for him back home. But then slowly, the sound of the river grew louder. He noticed the rhythm of the water, the rustling of leaves, the distant call of birds. His breath slowed, his body relaxed. For a few minutes, everything became simple. Just breath, just sound, just this moment. When Marco opened his eyes, the old man was smiling. "This," the elder explained, "is how you water the seed. Each day you must give your mind a moment of stillness. You can sit by a river, watch the flame of a candle, or even just pay attention to your breath. This practice keeps your thoughts from running wild. It teaches your mind to stay in the present, and little by little your seed of peace will grow stronger." Marco nodded slowly. "So, the peace I seek isn't found outside. It's already inside me, but I must practice like training a muscle." "Exactly," said the old man, "and there is something more. Do you know why your mind is restless?" Marco frowned. "Because I think too much?" The elder shook his head gently. "Not only that. Your mind is restless because it is clinging. You cling to your past regrets. You cling to fears of the future. You cling to ideas of who you think you should be. All of this clinging creates weight, and when the mind is heavy, it cannot rest. Letting go does not mean forgetting your past or ignoring your future. It means loosening your grip. Allow life to flow. Like this river, Marco looked at the water again. He saw how it curved around rocks, how it moved without resistance, always forward, always alive. "But how do I let go?" Marco asked. The old man smiled, his eyes crinkling with warmth. "Start small. When a thought of the past comes, do not fight it. Simply see it, breathe, and let it pass like a cloud. When fear of the future comes, smile gently and remind yourself, this moment is enough. The more you practice, the lighter you become." Marco stayed by the river the entire morning, practicing as the old man had said. Sometimes he succeeded. Sometimes his thoughts pulled him back into old worries. But each time he returned to his breath, to the sound of the river, to the feeling of this moment. And each time the peace grew a little stronger. Later that day, the villagers gathered in the town square for a small festival. Children played games, elders shared stories, and musicians filled the air with song. Marco walked among them watching. Normally, he would have been too lost in his own mind to notice the joy around him. But now, something was different. He saw the sparkle in the children's eyes. He heard the laughter that rippled like music. He noticed the old women clapping along to the rhythm, their hands wrinkled but strong. For the first time, Marco felt part of the world around him instead of trapped inside his own storm. The old man came and stood beside him. "Do you see now, Marco? Life is happening here, right now, not in your memories of yesterday, not in your worries about tomorrow. If you can live here, in this present moment, you will always carry peace with you. Tears welled in Marco's eyes, not of sadness, but of relief. Yes, grandfather, I see it now. The elder placed a hand on his shoulder. Remember, young one, this is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning. Peace will test you. The world will tempt you to forget. Your mind will try to return to its old habits, but you now know the way. Keep walking it. As the festival lights flickered in the night and laughter filled the air, Marco felt something new inside him. It wasn't the restless storm. It wasn't the endless noise. It was a steady flame, small but bright, reminding him that peace was always within reach if he chose to return to the present. That night, when Marco lay down to sleep, he did not fight with his thoughts. He let them come, let them go, and drifted off with a calm heart. And though dreams came and went, he woke the next morning lighter, clearer, and stronger than before. The old man's words echoed in his mind. Peace is a seed. Water it every day. Marco promised himself he would. Days passed in the hillside village. Marco remained there, learning from the old man, practicing what he had been shown. Each morning, he sat by the river or under a tree, breathing slowly, letting thoughts come and go like drifting clouds. At first, it was difficult. His mind wanted to run, to pull him back into memories or fears. But with patience, Marco began to see the difference between himself and his thoughts. One morning, as the sun rose golden over the hills, Marco asked the old man another question. "Grandfather," he said, "when I return to my home, I will face many challenges. People will expect things from me. Problems will come, just as they always do. How can I keep peace when the world around me is noisy, busy, and full of struggle?" The old man smiled gently. "Marco, peace does not mean the world around you becomes quiet. Peace means your heart learns to remain quiet even when the world is loud. Look at this mountain." He pointed toward the peak rising in the distance. "Storms come, winds roar, yet the mountain does not move. It stands strong, rooted, unshaken. That is how your peace must become. Deep inside, steady as the mountain." Marco gazed at the peak. For the first time, he understood that peace wasn't a fragile thing that could break easily. True peace was strength, not weakness. Later that day, the old man gave Marco another lesson. He handed him a broom and said, "Sweep the yard." Marco looked confused, but obeyed. As he swept, his thoughts began to wander. He thought of his village, of his family, of his worries. His sweeping became clumsy. Leaves scattered instead of gathering. The old man watched quietly. Then he said, "Stop." He took the broom and began to sweep slowly, carefully. Every motion was steady. Every breath matched the movement. The leaves gathered smoothly into one place. "This is the way of peace," the old man explained. "Whatever you do, whether sweeping, walking, eating, or working, do it with your whole heart in the present. Do not let your mind run away. When your attention is here, even simple tasks become peaceful. Peace is not found only in silence or meditation. It is found in how you live each moment." Marco felt a deep shift. He realized that peace wasn't something to visit, like the hillside village. It was something to carry in sweeping, in walking, in living, in... As the days went on, Marco practiced this with everything. When he ate, he truly tasted the food. When he walked, he noticed the ground beneath his feet. When he listened to someone speak, he gave them his full attention. Slowly, the restless storm that once controlled him began to lose its power. Finally, the day came when Marco knew it was time to return home. He had learned what he came for, and he wanted to bring this new peace back to his own village, his own life. He went to the old man's house one last time. The elder was sitting on his porch as always, eyes closed, hands resting on his knees. Marco bowed deeply. "Grandfather," he said softly, "I came to you lost and restless. Now I leave with a heart that is calm. I will never forget what you have taught me." The old man opened his eyes, and his smile was brighter than ever. "Remember, Marco, peace is not something you keep only for yourself. Just as the river gives water to all who come, share your peace with others. When people see calmness in you, they will learn it is possible for them too. That is how peace spreads, one heart at a time." Tears filled Marco's eyes. He bowed again, touched the old man's hand, and turned to leave. The journey home felt different than the journey there. The roads were the same, the mountains the same, but Marco himself had changed. The storm that once raged inside him was quiet now. When thoughts of the past came, he smiled and let them pass. When worries of the future appeared, he returned to his breath, his step, this moment. And each time he did, he felt steady again. When Marco finally reached his own village, his family and neighbors noticed immediately. His face was calmer, his eyes clearer, his smile genuine. They asked him what had happened in the hills. Marco didn't tell them a long story. He simply said, "I learned that peace is not out there somewhere. It is here, in this moment, waiting for us if we choose it." And slowly, people began to notice that being near Marco made them feel calmer too. Children played more gently around him. Friends found themselves speaking more openly to him. Even when problems came, arguments, money troubles, daily stress, Marco faced them differently. He didn't run away from challenges, but he also didn't let them steal his peace. As weeks passed, Marco's village changed too. It wasn't sudden, and it wasn't magic. But as one person lived with peace, others began to remember they could as well. In time, the storm that had once ruled Marco became not just his lesson, but the lesson of everyone around him. And whenever Marco felt his mind drifting back into old habits, he remembered the glass of water. He remembered the river. He remembered the broom. And he returned again and again to the present moment. Because that was the truth the old man had given him. Peace was never far away. It was always inside him, waiting to be seen. As the story closes, let me leave you with this. If you too feel restless, if your mind is noisy with endless thoughts, remember Marco's journey. Peace is not about running from life. It's about living fully in the life you already have. One breath, one step, one moment at a time. So take a deep breath now, wherever you are. Feel this moment and know peace lives here. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales and lessons. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay well and stay peaceful.